Somewhere in the world right now, a child is losing a fingertip, maybe a door, maybe an accident. And here's the thing almost nobody knows. If that child is young enough, and if the cut is in exactly the right place, the fingertip will grow back completely. Nail, skin, bone, nerve endings. All of it. Your body can do this. It just stops being able to at some point. And nobody fully agrees on when or why or whether that limit was ever supposed to be permanent. That last part is the one that stays with me. To understand why we can't regrow limbs, you first have to understand what regeneration actually requires. Because most people imagine it as something exotic, something only strange alien creatures do in biology documentaries. And that assumption is wrong in a way that matters. Regeneration is not rare. It is the default. Nearly every living thing on Earth has some form of it. Bacteria replace damaged proteins within seconds. Plants regrow entire branches. Lizards drop their tails and rebuild them. Starfish regrow arms. Deer regrow antlers. The fastest growing tissue in the animal kingdom every single year. Planarian flatworms can be cut into over 100 pieces, and every single piece will grow into a complete organism. And then there is the axolotl, a small aquatic salamander native to Mexico that can regrow a perfect functional leg in about 8 weeks. Not a scar, a complete leg. Bones, muscles, tendons, nerves, blood vessels, and skin, all rebuilt in the exact right configuration. It can do this dozens of times. The same leg, grown over and over, each time indistinguishable from the original. We share a common ancestor with that axolotl. We have almost all the same genes. The instructions for what it does are almost certainly still written somewhere in your DNA. Your body just stopped reading that page. I find that genuinely unsettling. Not as a biology fact, as a personal one. Whatever that salamander is doing when it rebuilds a leg, your body knows the instructions. It just chooses not to follow them. The reason your body stopped is not simple, but it starts with a single word: scar. When you get a significant wound, your body's first priority is not regeneration. It is speed, stopping the bleeding, closing the gap, preventing infection from entering an open wound. And the fastest way to do all of that is to fill the space with a simple, tough protein called collagen. No complex structure, no specialized cells, just a patch, strong and fast and dumb. That patch is a scar, and scars are extraordinarily effective at their job. They close wounds faster than any regenerative process could. They are infection resistant. They are structurally stable. For most of human evolutionary history, in a world full of predators, infection, and constant physical danger, a fast scar was the difference between surviving and dying from a wound that stayed open too long. But here's what a scar also does. It actively prevents regeneration from happening. The collagen that fills a wound creates a barrier. The cells that would need to reorganize into new tissue cannot navigate through scar tissue the way they can through normal tissue. The chemical signals that trigger regenerative processes get disrupted. The scaffolding that new growth needs to follow simply isn't there. A scar doesn't just close the wound. It forecloses the possibility of rebuilding what was lost. Your body trades recovery for speed. Every time, without asking. But that is only part of the answer, because even if your body wanted to regenerate, there is a second problem, and it is a deeper one. Regeneration requires something called a blastema. When an axolotl loses a limb, the cells near the wound do something remarkable. Instead of specializing and sealing, they do the opposite. They de-differentiate, they revert. Think about what your own cells do normally. Each one has a job, a fixed identity, a role it plays forever. A muscle cell is a muscle cell. A bone cell is a bone cell. That identity is locked in. But in the axolotl, something unlocks it. Mature specialized cells abandon their identity and become something more primitive, a mass of unspecialized cells, the blastema, that can then be rebuilt into anything the missing limb requires. Your cells cannot do this. At some point in mammalian evolution, the ability to de-differentiate was lost, or more precisely, it was suppressed, because de-differentiation is also what cancer does. Cancer is cells forgetting their identity, reverting to a primitive state, and multiplying without the normal controls. The same biological machinery that allows an axolotl to regrow a limb is dangerously close to the machinery that causes tumors. Mammals, including us, evolved increasingly powerful tumor suppression systems, and in doing so, we almost certainly suppressed the regenerative capacity along with it. We traded the ability to regrow limbs for a dramatically reduced risk of cancer. That trade made sense for most of our evolutionary history. A fast-healing mammal that occasionally lost a limb to a predator survived better than one that could regenerate slowly but died of cancer before reproducing. Evolution doesn't plan for the long term. It just counts who survives long enough to have children, and yet the fingertip grows back in children under certain conditions, which means the capacity is not completely gone. Something in the young human body can still read that page, and the question scientists have been circling for decades is what exactly turns it off. The answer involves something surprising about nerves, nails, and time, and none of it works the way most people would guess. The nerves beneath the nail bed are not passive wiring. They are active participants in regeneration. They release growth factors that tell nearby cells to begin the process. When those nerves are intact and present beneath the wound, regeneration initiates. When they are absent, it doesn't, even in children who would otherwise regenerate perfectly well. The same pattern appears in axolotls. Denervate the limb before amputation, and the blastema never forms. Nerve signals are not just there to report sensation. They are there to instruct rebuilding. The nail itself plays an equally strange role. The tissue just beneath the nail plate acts as a positional signal and a stem cell reservoir simultaneously. It tells regenerating cells which direction to grow and what architecture to build. Remove the nail entirely, even from a young child in the regenerative window, and the fingertip does not come back. The nail is not just protection, it is a map. And then there is age, the most frustrating piece. The regenerative window in humans closes sometime in early childhood, and nobody fully understands why. The molecular environment of a young body, its growth factors, its stem cell population, its immune response, differs from an adult's in ways that are only beginning to be mapped. As that environment shifts, the window closes, quietly, without announcement, and so far nobody knows how to reopen it. What I find most troubling about all of this is not that the window closes, it is that it ever opens at all. Because a window that opens can potentially be kept open, or reopened. The biology doesn't say never, it says not yet. And those are very different things. Here is where it gets interesting. In 2005, a researcher at the Wistar Institute discovered a strain of mice, the MRL mice, that could regenerate in ways normal mice cannot. Ear holes closed without scarring, heart tissue rebuilt after damage. And when these mice bred with normal mice, the offspring inherited the ability. The regenerative capacity was genetically transmissible. A single cluster of genetic differences separated a mouse that scars from a mouse that regrows. Since then, researchers have been systematically identifying what those genetic differences do. Some suppress the inflammatory response that triggers aggressive scarring. Some alter the behavior of macrophages, immune cells that are now understood to play a critical role in determining whether a wound scars or regenerates. Some appear to reactivate dedifferentiation pathways that are normally silenced in adult mammals. None of this has been translated into a human therapy yet. The biology is enormously complex, and the risk of accidentally triggering cancer while attempting to reactivate regeneration is real and serious. But the direction of travel is clear. Regeneration in mammals is not impossible. It is suppressed, and suppression can potentially be reversed. I think about the implications of that more than is probably healthy, because here is what regenerative biology is really saying. The limit is not in the hardware. Your cells, your DNA, your developmental biology is capable of far more than it currently does. The limit is in the software, in the specific set of instructions your body runs when it encounters a wound. Instructions that made sense in one environment and may be entirely negotiable in another. Your body builds a scar because it learned to build a scar. Because the animals that built scars fastest survived longest. Because evolution is not trying to give you the best possible body. It is trying to give you the body that produced the most offspring in a specific environment that no longer exists. You are walking around with regenerative machinery that has been partially switched off by millions of years of evolutionary compromise. The axolotl didn't win some biological lottery you lost. It just made different trade-offs. Slower healing, lower cancer resistance, the ability to rebuild what it loses. You made different trade-offs. Faster healing, stronger cancer suppression, permanent loss. Somewhere in the world right now, that child's fingertip is growing back, quietly, without anyone paying much attention, a process so improbable that most doctors still find it surprising when it happens. A small window of something ancient, briefly open, in a body that is otherwise committed to a different strategy. The window will close. It always does. But the fact that it opens at all means the instructions are still in there. Somewhere in the 4 billion years of biological history written into your cells, there is a page that describes how to rebuild what was lost. Your body decided a very long time ago that it wasn't worth the risk to read it. The question being asked right now, in labs, in mice, in cells, and petri dishes, is whether that decision was ever actually final.